When Ambani forced me from my home and made me homeless from the village, I cried out in the chaos, but you were so quiet. Honey, your tears were a silent witness to the pain you carried, the kind I couldn't bear to show, even in front of Dad. Every tear of yours proved how much Dad cherished you, but you had no choice but to follow whatever he said, even when I found a way to overcome the judgment of people, the whispers, the stares of relatives. I was still bound by the scars they left on me. Every glance reminded me that my broken pride had become my constant companion, just like the marks my worn shoes left behind as I walked. When the day faded into night and I'd try to escape from Dad's wrath, Mom would find me. She'd touch my wounds, wrap them in pieces of her scarf, and hold my head in her lap. For hours she'd sit there trying to comfort me, her hands trembling as much as my sobs. It was the only quiet moment in a home filled with noise, with whispers that burned more than words ever could. That I wondered through my tears why I always seemed to be the one carrying the burden of everyone's judgment. Why were people so quick to cast their jealous eyes on me the moment guests arrived? Every day, I felt like I was tied to the storehouse of forgotten things, bound to meaningless obligations in a home that felt like a cage. And until God's mercy found its way to our door, I knew I wouldn't get my freedom, not even a glimpse of release. I don't want to leave. Why can't I be given a chance for freedom? Why does every glimpse of mercy feel more like a burden than a blessing? But you, Mom, every time I asked you these questions you never answered. You'd just look at me with loving eyes, silent but full of understanding. Sometimes you'd kiss my forehead, other times my hands silently, reassuring me of one truth. You loved your son, your prince, more than words could ever express, even as I grew tired of asking why I was never deserving of Dad's love like my siblings. I'd find myself wondering, lost in thought, what is it about me that sets me apart? Why am I different? I prayed countless times, begging God that the nights would never end, because in the stillness of darkness I felt safe. But when morning came, you'd wear that same mask of fear again, the one of a mother, too afraid to show her love for her son because of Dad and the judgment of others. The day Dad finally threw me out of the house, my only crime was wearing something of yours, a piece of your colorful scarf, a bracelet on my wrist, and even your shoes. I wore them not to hurt anyone, but just to feel close to you. Mom, when Dad saw me, his anger boiled over. He rained down insults and blows, his shoes striking me again and again as I begged for forgiveness. But my pleas fell on deaf ears. I was left broken, lying on the ground, separated from my family. Forever, you abandoned me for their sake. When I heard those words, the hands that had been clinging tightly to Dad's feet went limp. My voice, once desperate and pleading, fell silent. Even my tears stopped. Deep down, I knew this was a moment I could never take back. I had spoken my truth, and there was no going back now. And you, Mom, I knew you didn't have the strength to stand against Dad's decisions. After this, I would be alone forever. You left behind a space where peace should have been, but instead, I found myself with a new identity. My name was no longer Umjud. It was now Alicia. You taught me how to sing and dance, your eyes always watching over me, And yet, whenever I looked back, I found myself yearning for your love, desperate to belong in a home that never wanted me that I still love you, even now, but the memory of that last Friday with Dad haunts me. I remember standing at the doorway, watching you take steaming flatbreads from the stove. My stomach churned with hunger as I saw you make bites from my siblings, one by one, feeding them with your hands. When it came to me, my mouth opened, too, not out of entitlement, but out of hope. Yet that morsel carried nothing but emptiness. For so long I survived on scraps, leftover, dry bread soaked in my tears, eaten outside the house like I didn't belong, even on Eid, the one day meant for joy and unity. I was alone, the house shamed by my very existence, celebrated without me. And yet when the gifts of celebration were distributed, my hands remained empty. The sorrow I carried felt like a flood, drowning everything it touched. Even the rope holding me together felt frayed, like water eroding it thread by thread. I reached out my hands, finding comfort in the love and affection every child deserves. You, Mom, would fill my empty heart with love when I needed it the most. I had a simple wish back then. I wanted Dad to get a bicycle and let me ride it just once. But that wish remained unfulfilled, like so many others. After being forced out of my home, life took an even stranger turn, one that shattered my heart. Chand Sharma came to the Guru and claimed me under his care. He took control of my life, forcing me to perform, making my pain a tool for entertainment. I was just a small, fragile child, and the weight of his demands crushed me. The pain was so unbearable, I lost consciousness. In that state, I was handed over to the Guru, and from there, a new chapter began. Day by day, I sank further into despair, losing pieces of myself. I felt like I was dying a little more every day. What could I do? I had no escape, no other shelter. Singing became my only way to survive. The Guru turned my talent into currency, calling it my purpose. I begged him for a way out, desperately searching for a real job, but every attempt ended in disappointment. Fear of the Guru and what he might do kept me bound to him. Our lives became tied to the streets, treated as if we were worth less than others. People would talk about giving their daughters away in marriage, but when it came to people like me, they acted like we weren't human. They forgot that we, too, were born of the same blood. Of our hearts beat just like there's the S-O-Y. Were we punished for simply existing? Why was love and dignity something we were denied?